Honestly, so I just filmed this exact video, but it took me 20 minutes to explain when I could just do it in 10 minutes, so I deleted the video so that I have to be forced to actually do this video again. And, there's like 4 or 5 things that I mainly do in order to learn a language, but since we're specifically talking about Korean, I'll apply it to Korean, but honestly, you could apply it to literally any other language. So, for starters, I started learning Korean when I was about 12 years old, 10 years ago. And the reason why I'm not fluent is because I took very long breaks and I wasn't really immersed in the language because there isn't a Korean community around here. The Korean kids that were at my school didn't know the difference between like oppa and hyung, which is a very basic, like, this is what Korean language is, like, terms. So yeah, I knew more Korean than they did, which wasn't that hard to achieve. So I didn't really have anyone to practice with, and it took me going to Korea when I was 17 years old for the first time for 2 weeks to really immerse myself, and by the end of the trip I could read Korean faster than I ever could before. I already knew the Korean alphabet. I already knew very basic Korean. Well, not very basic. I knew like close to lower intermediate, but that trip pushed me into lower intermediate, and then my study abroad pushed me into like, I'm basically intermediate, but because I get nervous, I'll mess up. So yeah, what I did as a kid was I got a designated Korean notebook, which I still do to this day with whatever language I'm learning. It's always a designated notebook. And I basically just did a lot of repetition. So I just wrote the Korean alphabet and the English letter correspondent to that Korean alphabet symbol. And that's how I memorized it, but I memorized it within just a few days, but mainly because the Korean alphabet is really easy, and 2, I learn languages very quickly. So like, you have to take into account that my timeline isn't going to match your time. When you scrunch up, like, when I've been actively studying, my timeline isn't going to be the same as your timeline. It's most likely going to be a lot faster. So don't think that, oh, well, I'm still struggling with, like, Korean alphabet and it's been, like, a whole year. Don't base your timeline for how you're going to learn a language off of me, because my brain picked up Mandarin quickly. Like, I stopped studying it, so I don't remember pretty much anything. But when I did start picking it up, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, because everyone was talking about how hard it was, and I picked it up, and I was like, oh, well, so don't go up based off of me. I am a terrible example to how fast you can learn a language. Yeah, repetition is important. Have a designated notebook. Hold on. So when I went to Korea the first time, I actually went to the Studio Ghibli store, of course, when I went to Korea. A second time for study abroad, I was up in there frequently. In fact, I bought my first Lucky bag at the Studio Ghibli store before I left. So this is my Totoro notebook. I actually bought a second one of this, my second time in Korea, because this one's all beat up. And when I get this one full, I want the same notebook because it's cute. Along with repetition for the alphabet, what I did was I got a notebook and I just started writing down. I followed an app that I have, and I just started following down, writing down all of the words. And I just continued to do so on every page, and I would count at the top of every page how many words I've done so far. I believe I'm at 1,000 and something on this notebook. I also started doing things like breaking down K-pop lyrics for vocabulary. And that's been a lot of help because once I went to do study abroad at Yonsei, there was a bunch of vocabulary that I already knew. Honestly, there was this class that was like a heavy-duty Korean language class, and it was basically Korean 1 and Korean 2 smashed together in one semester. That was 6 credits, and I was thinking about doing that, but then I was like, nah, I'm gonna chill this semester, which was the best choice because my school doesn't even take my Korean language credits as the language requirement, so now I have to test out Spanish. Because they don't care about your education, they care about squeezing as much money out of you as humanly possible. This is the Yonsei textbook that was $30, which is nothing in comparison to the $93 that I just spent on something for school yesterday. And here's the workbook that comes tucked in to the back. And, yep, see, our teacher would have us do this in class. I already knew all this stuff, so in fact, most of this I already knew. But the thing is, I wanted it to be more structured in my brain. I wanted a better base for Korean, for me being able to speak in Korean. So instead of trying to test into Korean 2, I just took Korean 1, and it did create a far more sturdy base for my Korean language skills than it was from when I was learning on my own, because with the teacher it was more structured and it was a lot more repetitive, even more so than what I was already doing. I was able to be corrected if anything was wrong, so I have a better understanding of like, this is the basics of this language. Okay, now continue to build on it like you've already have. So textbooks help. You can buy this off Amazon, but honestly, I think a better idea. I don't see the point of buying the Yonsei one online. It also costs more. I think it's like $50 on Amazon instead of $30. Talk to Me in Korean is actually very helpful. It has always been very helpful. They don't have as much free content as they used to when I was a kid, but they do have textbooks that I've been meaning to buy, so I do recommend you get workbooks, because workbooks, they're just so much more structured. Anyway, also media is important to an extent, because most people don't talk the way that they do pop music. Like, if you take the pop music vernacular and you apply it to everyday speech, it's gonna sound really weird. But it's good for vocabulary. K-pop is good for vocabulary. I wouldn't say it's good for grammar, but it's good for vocabulary. I listen to mainly the second wave of K-pop, not so much this third wave. The only third wave groups that I follow are IZONE and Red Velvet, and that is it. What was I gonna say? K-dramas also help, but the thing that helps the most are Korean YouTubers that aren't teaching English or Korean or anything. Like, they're just YouTubers that are Korean. I don't really recommend the people that are Westerners in Korea, mostly because a lot of the time they end up not being all that great of people. Like, you read up on them and they're not. Some of them even exaggerate how much they've been in Korea. Like, they live in the United States, but then they talk like they lived in Korea their whole life, and they have all these stories that don't make any sense. I don't recommend them. There's a few of them that are fine, but if you want to learn Korean, learn it from a Korean. This is mainly for listening comprehension. Korean YouTubers will say very basic things, which honestly, when you vlog, it is just the basics of that language, because it's very, this is this is that, from 10 p.m. to whatever p.m., from this p.m. to and my favorite thing is, and it's very just basic, so it's a good way to test your listening comprehension. You can watch K-dramas too, that's fine. But I think the best thing is just the average Joe just speaking, because textbooks / workbooks, and just formal language things in general will teach you the formal way, even when they are saying it's the casual way. Like, there are certain ways that, like, we talk as American English first language speakers that, like, we hear a foreigner speak English and we can tell that they're a foreigner because they're talking real formal. Like, they say do not instead of just don't. They say it is instead of it's. Like, little real tiny things that we don't realize when we're talking to people of our other language casually, but when someone who doesn't speak the language pops up, it's very high. Also, work on your Korean pronunciation. My Korean pronunciation has gotten good enough that, like, I keep getting mistaken for being half Korean, and it's always, is your mom Korean? It's always the mom. No, I'm not. I'm black mixed with black, and I've always said this, regardless of what kids I went to school with insinuated. But yeah, that's what time it. Oh, that's good time. That's what I basically do. That's what's been the best for me. Again, you could play this in literally any language. You could just switch out the Korean for, I don't know, like French, German, whatever. There will be little details that change within each one because each language is different, but like the basics of like this is how you start to learn a language, it's very much that. I'm not rich in any sort of way, and I was able to go to Korea, so if you're interested in going to Korea, I suggest that you see what your resources are and you save up your money like I did, and you get up and you go. Of course, a lot of you are not of age to be running around by yourself. I was in Korea at 17 years old because my older cousin was with me. I didn't just get on a plane and go for it. I was a baby. No, yeah, that's it. Was I 17? I think I was 18 by then, yeah, because it was spring of my freshman year, so I was 18 by then, just turned 18 by then, but you get my point. Okay, I'm done. I have to keep cutting the lace on this new wig, because you can still kind of see it, but I don't know if you like squint, see, one, that's it. Good luck. Study hard. If you have any questions, like ever, like if you've seen this video like a few months ago, obviously not now, but you know what I mean, like a few months from now, you saw this video now, and you have a question in December, you can still come back to this video or in a new video, but although this would make the most sense to comment on and ask, hey, when you do this, does it mean this? Huh? And I will try to answer that question for you as best as I can. I also do videos in Korean and Japanese, and the reason why I don't speak much is because when it's not English, I get nervous. So I'm pretty much fluent in Spanish, and I still struggle speaking in Spanish because I just get nervous and my brain just craps out. But I will attempt to do more of me actually speaking instead of it just being titled in a different language. But yeah, that's enough of my rambling. If you like this video, you can like down below. If you want more videos from me that don't consist of me being sick beyond belief, you can subscribe below, comment comment when you started learning Korean, why you want to start learning Korean, any Korean language questions that you have that I will try to answer to the best of my capabilities. And I will see you next time, probably in a second, because I'm going to film another video after this. Okay, bye.